Hello everyone and welcome to another devlog video. Today I want to talk about why I target mobile for my indie game, because this is not the conventional route indie developers do. Mobile market is very controversial and I want to talk about my reasoning why I'm targeting mobile first for my game. Doesn't mean that it will not eventually come out as a different version on PC, but for now I've decided to go for mobile. So first of all, a little bit of history. I always wanted to make a shoot 'em up. I always had interest in game development. I remember when I started learning programming, I always had in mind, I want to make a little game. But I never released anything. The projects never really felt like anything that I would eventually release. And eventually real life kicked in and I decided to go the more conventional route of software development and consulting. And I put the gameplay stream a little bit to the side. Also had never been interested in joining any bigger game development companies, because if I work in a rather rough industry, I want also be the one in charge and have decision in the game design. So fast forward, eventually I started a project called Rusthell. Rusthell, the combination of the words Rust, the programming language that I was trying to learn with this project, and Hell. That's the genre that I'm partially trying to be, bullet hell. So there's this project title. I will change the name eventually, but for now this is how my game is named. So but it was the project was not intended to become something big. It was not a mobile game at this point. It was just on PC, developing with Rust and SDL, something fun for learning Rust, but it already showed to be a vertical shoot 'em up. Eventually I was working as a freelancer, and I was working on an iOS app that I also needed to test on iPad. So and I wanted to test it on a real device, so I bought myself a fancy iPad. First of all, I have to say, I'm not a mobile gamer, right? I never really played mobile games, smartphone games. I did in the past, what you would consider in the 90s or early 2000s. If you would use the term mobile gamer, people would probably think about some kid outside playing on his Game Boy. And yeah, this is what how I grew up with the kind of games. Mobile games, and it really shocked me. So I had this iPad and I thought, why not check out the App Store, see what the iPad is capable of. Maybe there's some fun games to play. And I was really shocked how trash most of the games were. So here we have a little screenshot, and if you played a few free-to-play games on mobile, it will look very familiar. Even if you not played this particular game, every game's dashboard looks somewhat like this. Everywhere red exclamation marks, hundreds of menu options. It's really funny actually. I don't know if it's some Unity template that all developers copy. I don't really understand what that's about. Why every game looks exactly like this. Anyway, I was kind of shocked, and not only because of this. So of course this monetization and the greediness and the aggressiveness of the monetization, the pop-ups, all the grindy retention systems behind it. These are definitely a problem. But also the games, like if you actually play the game, because oftentimes you're more busy in spending time in the menus instead of actually playing the game. But the game itself is also not great. So I was really confused because I had a different experience on PC and console in this day and age, where we have so many great indie developer, not directly competing with AAA games, but really give a nice alternative where you really see the developer really cares about the game and the developer is not only there for the money. And I was wondering, why aren't there more indie developers on mobile? I know that on free-to-play mobile specifically, I know there is this. There are situations where indie games get successful on Steam or console, and because they happen to be successful on those platforms, they will get ported over to mobile as a premium option, so you pay an upfront price. But I don't see this as a mobile game. This is not a real mobile game. That is not designed for really from the ground up for touchscreens. So I think this is a different story. So actually, there are some indie games that go free to play mobile, but I think these are rather rare, and I would love to see more. And especially, I had the issue that I could not find the game that I wanted to play, because I wouldn't mind some grinding progressions. I wouldn't mind, because I actually wanted a game that's easy to play. It's hopefully fun to play. This was the issue. That the moment-to-moment gameplay was not really great, and I couldn't find any option. So I thought this was the first moment. Now we get to the first reason. Maybe I can be the change I want to see. I think I have a higher impact on mobile, because the mobile market is in desperate need of better games, of developers who actually care about the game. So yeah, as I already mentioned, on PC and console we have the situation where a lot of indie games, indie developer targeting those platforms and delivering great games. And I don't go to Steam and think to myself, and I browse the storefront. I don't think to myself, man, I wish there were more indie developers bringing out good games on Steam, because there are so many great games, somewhat hidden gems, like games that only have 100 reviews or something, that are really great. And I don't think this is the case for mobile. At least I'm not able to find good games, good hidden gems. It's much harder to find. Maybe this is a problem with the storefront. Not sure. Maybe Steam is better curated than the App Store or the Play Store. But still, I have the feeling that most indie developer have this mindset. Okay, the mobile gaming market is trash because it's free to play, and free to play means it's full of advertisement, it needs microtransaction, it's pay to win, therefore it's bad. And the experience that they had with mobile gaming was bad, and therefore they don't want to participate in this market, which is understandable. I for myself thought, maybe this is more a reason to do something different, like to be this indie developer who actually cares. Yeah, maybe it's free to play, maybe it has some monetization that's not super cool, but still it's not super greedy like the big games do. Yeah. The next reason is the aspect ratio. This is an obvious one. So personally, I always prefer vertical shoot 'em ups. So vertical shoot 'em up means that your player sprite is at the bottom, and the enemies come from the top, and you shoot everything from bottom to top, right? And here we see an old game, and this vertical shoot 'em ups don't fit well modern screens, monitors, or TVs. They're usually 16:9 or even wider, and it's not a great fit, right? So here we have a classic shoot 'em up by Cave, ported to a modern system, and what the developers here did, clutter the sites that are not used with information. But I personally think that is useless. doesn't look right. You're focused on the action in the middle. You don't have eyes for this on the left and the right. The other option, Jamestown. Here we have a screenshot of Sinji. Jamestown does it, but Jamestown is a positive example because Jamestown has multiplayer and you have different. You want this wider space. This is a good use case for using the entire horizontal space in a vertical shoot 'em up. But usually, especially a single player, it's really difficult to make it feel good, and there's some gameplay design issues with that, with all the space you have left and right. So yeah, the mobile screens fit really well to a shoot 'em up. There are different challenges. This was one of the hardest challenge that I had to overcome, like in the foundational work for my game, to support like tablet resolutions and also to support very narrow Android devices. So yeah, I won't go into the details, but this is definitely something that's very, very challenging. And I wanted to not be this game that just says, okay, it is 9:16 and screw you, now you have on your iPad, you have its black bars left and right. I tried to not to be that, right? I want to utilize the entire screen. Anyways, aspect ratio is one obvious reason. Another reason are the controls. Personally, I don't like when games just slap on a virtual controller on the screen. And we do see this with many games, especially FPS, MOBA type games. So here we have mobile League of Legends, Wild Rift. And when I was trying this, I was just thinking, please give me a controller or something, because this ain't it. Like having all those buttons and they're not tactile, they're just on the screen. It just does not feel good to play in terms of controls, because it's not designed for mobile, right? It's League of Legends grew big on PC, on mouse and keyboard controls, and you can't just translate this to mobile. I mean, you can, but it's not ideal. Shoot 'em ups, on the other hand, sure, it's something different if you control your sprite with a touch screen or with a mouse, but it's a much better. It just feels quite good. Like it's not this abomination that we have with many mobile games where we have a virtual controller on there, right? So I think this is also this is obvious, right? You can just use touch movement to control your sprite. The next reason, I call it beauty of free-to-play, because I think many people forget, or it's like very easy to just, as I mentioned, like probably most indies do, to see free-to-play as something generally bad, right? So you say, oh, I even heard a podcast some time ago where like really established game critics talked about free-to-play, and they were arguing that if a game is free-to-play, it will become automatically a worse game. And I disagree with that. Because free-to-play itself, it might be true that, sure, if you have all those monetization and you have grindy mechanics and maybe in-game advertisement, you still can't deny the insane fact that the game is free to play and open for everyone. So I personally grew up in a privileged country, and I was always able to afford games, or even or console and PCs, and also able to afford games for those systems. But there are people out there who are just not able to afford any console or any PC, and also premium games on mobile, games that you have to pay up front. They're not able to afford this, right? So sure, those players won't generate you money, but it's a nice idea to know that there are people out there who can enjoy your game fully. Because if your game is not insanely grindy and insanely pay to win, they are able to enjoy your game without paying anything. And I think this is can be seen as something good. And also, I was hanging out with some guys recently, and I showed them my current state, right, of my game. Where I was talking about how I'm developing this game here, right here. And one guy asked me, "Hey, can you tell me the name?" And he was already opening the App Store. And I told him, no, this is just development version. Like, it's not available on the App Store right now, not yet. But it was like eye-opening for me, that because those were people who are not non-gamers, right? They were non-gamers. They talked maybe like 20 years ago in their childhood. They played like on the Amiga or something. But those guys were not like me, who was still playing games in the 30s. But so it's a cool idea that you can meet anyone at any given time, and they're able to, without any paywall or anything, to download your game and try your game. And this is cool because everyone has phones. Don't you guys have phones? It's a meme, but there's some truth to it. Also, the various monetization options is something interesting to think about, because if you develop for Steam and console, you just put a price tag on your game and then you're done, probably. Maybe you do a sale once or twice a year and that's it. While on mobile, you have, because players are, it's accepted for a free-to-play game to monetize in some ways. And in some ways can be very creative, right? Like from greedy gacha games where it's all about getting the whales in your game, to just like very fair games, not pay to win, where you just optionally can watch advertisement to continue to play. And there's just much more flexibility and creativity in this monetization space. Also, the last part is a little bit abstract. The more I research, because I think many people see like the mobile developers as some like evil creatures who are just out there to grab money out of your pockets. And what I come to appreciate about mobile developers is that they are very much aware of the data, right? They are more data driven, in the sense they care about retention rates. They do a soft launch, and then they look at the numbers, right? And then they try, based on the numbers, they tweak the game and improve the game, hopefully. I mean, the bad outcome is what we oftentimes see, that it's just only about the number, not about the game anymore. But generally speaking, this is a good approach. I think this is a very good approach to not just let one guy play your game and then you make your conclusion, and the other guy who's playing your game has a totally different experience. This is like a tiny sample, right? But if you do something like a soft launch, and you get a larger quantity of players, and you look at the data, I think this is a very nice approach if you have the intent of improving your game with this data, not just improving this number, right? Because what we see is there's a lot of psychological manipulation, retention systems, etc. as a result of those data-driven concepts that the developers see the data. Okay, how do we increase this? Some A/B testing, and they see, okay, if we have this, I don't know, this pop-up every time in the face of the user, every time the app starts, we increase the in-app purchase by 5% or something. This is obviously not that great, but I think I I kind of like the idea that's less about just hoping and gaining wish lists, or what people on Steam do, and just hoping that the algorithm kicks in. And I feel like the mobile developers have a more calculated approach, which I find very interesting. Anyways, this is the end of the little presentation. This video is already going on for way too long. These are my four reasons. Higher impact. I believe the mobile gaming sphere needs better games where the developer really cares. Aspect ratio is perfect fit for the shoot 'em up. Controls are also very suited for shoot 'em ups. And free to play can be something nice. It's free to play, right? Everybody can download it and try your game. Isn't that nice? So these are my reasons. If you want to know how it goes with my game, if I'm just being stupid here and maybe I will hit a wall with my game and not find the success or the players, I like success is like not necessarily talking about financial success, but just having a game that's appreciated would be a success in my books. Anyway, see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.